Hi, and welcome back to the Swell Shenanigans Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda, but you can call me Swell. Here on the Swell Shenanigans Podcast, I like talking about all things pop culture, social media, and shenanigans. And today we have a listener shenanigan episode. Very short one. We only got a couple to go over this time, but really quick, I did want to apologize for last week's episode, the audio issues. I record all of these podcast episodes through Zencaster. And for some reason, sometimes if the audio levels change drastically while we're recording, whether because I get up and then it readjusts when I'm up or when I play an audio message into the mic versus when I'm talking, it doesn't register on my audio levels on my end when I'm recording. And so I can't catch it until we're editing. And then it's a little too late. So sorry about the audio issues. Hopefully, I have no plans on getting up today. So hopefully that issue does not happen again. And we only have a couple of ones to go over this time. So yeah, hopefully that's all good. Let's see. So this first one is from Samantha, and it's just mostly an email message to me talking about Creator Clash and then a shenanigan kind of put in the very bottom with a bird shenanigan. So I wanted to speak about Creator Clash. I have made it very clear to them that I am willing to box. I've made it very clear I want to fight. I've made it very clear I'm 5'2" and scrappy, and I am willing to get punched in the face for content. I will do it for charity. I will do it. And so that being said as well, I have not been reached out to back from anyone. And also a clip of my Creator Clash YouTube video was included in iDubbbz's YouTube video. And obviously iDubbbz, Ian, is the organizer of Creator Clash. So he knows that if he watched the video, if he saw that clip or his editor saw that clip, someone over there knows that I am willing to fight. And I have still heard nothing. So I'm assuming I will not be involved in the next Creator Clash in any capacity because I have still heard nothing. That being said, I am 5'2", and the matchups do kind of gotta sort of make sense. So maybe that's why the only potential fighter that I think that I'm aware of that's been actively trying to fight, that's my height, I believe is Valkyrae. And obviously she's a much larger content creator than I am. So them matching us up just doesn't make sense marketing wise. So that being said, I probably will not be involved in Creator Clash, but yes, I have reached every option where it's like they say reach out here. I've done it. I promise. So I DM'd them on Twitter. I DM'd them on Instagram. My videos, I respond to every tweet about it. People are telling them that I'm wanting to fight. So they know, they just don't want me. So that's probably it. But let's see your message. And then you said, I suppose I should add a shenanigan. And I do have one that is kind of bird related. I have some family in Idaho, grandma, uncle, and late grandpa, who we go visit almost every year in the summer. Several years ago, when my grandpa was still alive, one morning at breakfast found us talking about what kind of animal we would want to be if we could choose. I said I wanted to be a cat because I could take lots of naps. Grandpa wanted to be a skunk because no one messes with skunks, and what with their stink spray and all. And my grandpa said he wanted to be a seagull, and before he could say a reason, I said, why? So you can poop on everything. Grandpa was speechless for several moments and tried to sputter out something about being able to fly everywhere and see everything, but we almost didn't hear him because we were laughing too hard. Man, I miss Grandpa. And that's the shenanigan if you want to include it in the next listener episode or whatever. Samantha, that's a cute little one. I appreciate it. Thank you for sending that in. All right, this is a long one. Lumbering customers almost come to blows. I worked in the lumber department in a big box home improvement store. I wore an orange apron. Okay, my guess would be Home Depot. Once when there was one other lumber associate at the time helping other customers, we are fairly busy, a Karen that looks in her 60s comes and asks me for items to make shelves. She is really demanding, clueless, cheap, and indecisive, and I take her all around the department to explain the difference between using plywood, 2-inch, and 1-inch wood board, or pre-cut shelves. I am in the 1-inch aisle trying to get her to understand the difference between pine price per piece and hardwood price per foot when a semi-regular customer, let's call him Dan, a man in his 50s, that has been waiting patiently for a couple minutes comes in. Dan, I have a quick question. Where is type of product for which there is 2 types? Me, I can answer quickly, but first, which type? Karen, rudely to Dan, excuse me, but he was with me first. You're really rude for interrupting us before we are done. Dan, I'm really rude? You're the one who is rude. I just have a quick question, then he can go back with you since you've been hogging him. Both customers look at me basically to see who I will side with, and I stand speechless for a minute. Karen, well, where I come from, it is rude to cut in on customers until they are done with the salesperson. Dan, now shouting, listen, lady, you're the one who is rude. Any decent person would let him answer a simple question first and then go back to you. At this point, they are basically standing tall, and I swear they are about to come to blows. To cut the tension, I speak up. Me, to Dan. I was with this lady first. There is someone on the back I saw. He can help you when he is done with this customer, or I will help you when I'm done with this customer. Whoever is done first. Dan, obviously annoyed with the lady, not mean. Fine, whatever, and walks away. Karen, thank you. That man was really rude. Wouldn't you agree? It wanted to stay that both of them were rude, but I ignored the question, and I spent another 10 minutes with Karen to help her decide and finally get some hardwood laminated plywood to take it to the panel saw to cut. While cutting, I see Dan pass by, and politely I say I will be with him shortly. Both customers squint at each other with evil eyes. Karen repeatedly makes snide remarks about the man to me, but intentionally loud enough for Dan to hear an aisle over. I finish cutting for the lady and have half of the board left in large scraps left over from cutting out the shelves to size. Me, do you want the leftover pieces? Karen, what do you do with scraps if I don't want them? Me, since you are paying for the whole piece, we can't resell them. We usually keep on a cart and offer to customers free if they want them. And if there are leftovers at the end of the day, we throw them away. Karen, okay, you can give them away to anyone except that rude man, shouting and pointing to Dan with his back facing us. Karen takes her card and walks past Dan as they squint eyes at each other and walk sideways away from each other like out of a Western movie. She goes to the register, but it is in somewhat sight of the saw. Dan comes to the saw with some OSB, much cheaper than plywood than the lady got, and has apparently answered his own question from earlier. Dan, man, that bitch was crazy. I am not mad at you, but was livid at her. Anyways, I need this cut to about the same size as the scraps from the lady. Actually, what are those scraps? Can I have them? Me. Not knowing how to say this tactfully and at the same time not laugh. Actually, they are from the lady, and normally we give the scraps away, but she specifically said not to give them to you. However, I'll wait until she leaves the store, and then I will give them to you. Man, that's okay. I wouldn't even want anything from that crazy bitch anyways. Just cut it off the boards I grabbed. I cut for him, and he leaves his scraps. And now I have a whole board worth of scraps that I end up throwing away at the end of the day. It's actually sad how much stuff we end up throwing away at the end of the day. And then he linked the original posts. I'm not going to open up while I'm here, let's look at, I usually don't click on links, but let's see. I kind of want to see what the comments are. If people left comments on these. Oh, suggestions for what to do with the scraps. Just give them the scraps. You're not paid enough to monitor who gets the scraps. Why didn't you just give them the dang scraps? No need to tell them where they came from. So they both had a 2x4 up their ass. Just because the lady stood up for herself when an inconsiderate ass tries to interrupt doesn't make her rude. And scraps are part of doing business. When your company cuts wood for customers, the scraps would go to waste if the customers took it with them. So this is the way the chance it will get used. I mean, as far as the scraps go, yeah, it's kind of a fact of life, unfortunately. I don't deal with wood scraps. I've dealt with a lot of fabric scraps from like Joann's Fabrics and things like that. Like if you're at the end of the bolt, they usually just, like if I get, like if I'm trying to buy 2 yards of something and there's like literally like 3 inches left, they're like, we just put this down as 2 yards and they give me the discounted one. Or they'll be like, hey, we have these scraps that we just cut. Does anyone want these? Or they tie them up in little bows and they sell those as little bundles of scraps and things like that. That way they're not going to waste. I don't see why the wood couldn't be done the same thing or maybe turned into something else like sawdust or something. Can you just take wood and turn it into sawdust? I don't know. As far as who's rude and who's right in the situation, I mean, I don't think anyone's right. I mean, you could argue that, yeah, it's rude of him to walk up and interrupt and demand your attention. You could argue it's rude of her to continually to antagonize him. I mean, it sounds like you were kind of already annoyed with her to begin with, so it didn't matter what he did. You were going to be annoyed with her to begin with. Even if you say you were annoyed with both of them, it's pretty clear. I think you were more annoyed with her, as you already titled her Karen and he's Dan, you know? So I don't think anyone's right in this situation. People can just be rude, and that's just a fact of life with retail. I mean, Home Depot, where like the place I worked, you know, like sometimes people are just rude. When I worked at a baby and kids clothes store, it was a little more heightened because I was dealing with people who were also parents or grandparents. And I will say it was rarely the parents that I had the most issues with. It was almost always a grandparent. I don't know why. They were just always very hostile at the various drop of a hat. But there was just a lot of times where there would be a child being unruly and a parent would be dealing with it. And then someone would make a comment to me or one of my coworkers, like, some people just shouldn't be parents. And it's like, where's your child right now? You know, like, it's like, obviously in the moment I can't be like, you're right, or you're wrong, or you're kind of a bitch. I can't do that, obviously. And the same goes with, I'm assuming you in this situation. situation. You couldn't agree with any of them. Again, I don't really think it matters that you told him. I mean, personally, I don't think you should have told him what the scraps were, but I mean, I don't think it would have mattered regardless. I mean, did he actually need this? How big were the scraps that he couldn't just keep the scraps? Was it that large of a scrap of wood? Like that he didn't, would it have worked? Like with the grade and all of that? You know, I don't know. I mean, maybe she was having a bad day and was annoyed. Maybe he was having a bad day and was annoyed and was in a rush and didn't want to deal with anyone. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a shenanigan, I guess. But yeah. That's really it. What do you think? Let me know. Shorter episode today, not a lot of stories, lots of random offers to this email, which is nice. I do like getting random things because then I can talk about them. Again, keep getting the Norton scam emails to this one. I don't really have any other podcast updates for you guys. So again, really short episode this time. Send in your voice memos, send in your emails if you would like to see your listener story shared on another Shenanigan episode. And that's really going to be it. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this podcast and you're new, be sure to subscribe and rate. If you would like to hear more of my voice every Wednesday, if you would like to look at my face when these episodes are going on, you can go ahead over to our YouTube channel and subscribe for video podcasts. And that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for listening. Goodbye.